Supreme Court heard arguments Tuesday on a case involving a state allegedly intimidating and harassing a pregnancy center for not conducting abortions. The case, First Choice Women's Resource Centers versus Platkin, could set precedent on states' ability to similarly target pregnancy centers and pro-life organizations.
Joining us now to discuss is Erin, Hawley, General Counsel at Alliance Defending Freedom, one of the attorneys arguing the case for First Choice and who successfully argued to overturn Roe v. Wade in 2022. Thanks for joining us. So this case stems from New Jersey's Democrat Attorney General targeting pregnancy resource centers. That's the claim from your client, First Choice. He created a strike force. He issued a consumer alert against them and then issued a subpoena to First Choice that was extremely intrusive. That included asking for donor information going back 10 years. So we've just heard oral arguments before the Supreme Court. By the line of questioning from the justices, do you have a sense of how they appear to be leaning?
So I'll have to paraphrase an old boss of mine. And after arguing, he would say, I would rather be our side than their side. And I think that's definitely true after this oral argument. If you think about some of the questions the justices were asking, Justice Barrett, for example, pointed out the hostility that New Jersey has shown toward pregnancy care centers.
You had this project strike on the pregnancy centers. The Attorney General had essentially, what your friends on the other side would say, declared war on pregnancy centers. So if it is true that the non-self-executing subpoena is enough if it's in the context of other government statements, why wouldn't that be satisfied here?
Justice Jackson seemed very concerned about this idea that you never get into federal court. Not only does it shut you out initially, but even once you go to state court because of various legal doctrines, you can never come back to federal court.
In cases like Whole Women's Health, for instance, this court noted that there may not always be available a federal forum for a federal constitutional claim challenging.
So you're not saying they wouldn't be precluding, you're just saying there are times when it's too bad.
Justice Kagan took a really practical view of the case. She's not one that you would maybe expect to be ideologically aligned with First Choice. And yet she made the common sense point. If I receive a subpoena that demands donor names, I don't want my name and address and phone number out there. And so she was saying that this is going to chill the First Amendment rights of recipients in sort of a common sense way. And it seemed like a majority or certainly several members of the court were really understanding the effect the subpoena had both on First Choice Women's Resource Center as well as its donors.
So that seems pretty promising for First Choice. Were there any particularly surprising moments to you in the arguments? Anything you weren't anticipating?
So one kind of highlight of the oral argument was the fact that the New Jersey Attorney General has never said that he received a single complaint against First Choice by anyone. And so Justice Thomas really leaned into that and asked the New Jersey attorney.
Did you have complaints that formed the basis of your concern about the fundraising activities here?
We certainly had complaints about crisis pregnancy centers.
About this crisis pregnancy center.
So I think we've been clear from the outset that we haven't had complaints about this specific.
So you had no basis to think that they were deceiving any of their contributors?
Now, it's worth noting many of the arguments we heard related to sort of procedural issues in terms of access to the Supreme Court in New Jersey and then the proper use of subpoenas. If we do see a ruling in favor of First Choice, how could that impact specifically pregnancy centers across the country?
So the particular legal issue is sort of an access to federal courts issue and what is required if you have to have chilling, which we think happens when you're served a subpoena demanding your donor names, or if you have to have something else. But I think it could broadly impact pregnancy centers in one particular way. And that's because the New Jersey Attorney General has really shown a lot of hostility toward these pregnancy care centers, again, issuing consumer alerts, telling New Jerseyans to beware of them, partnering with Planned Parenthood to issue a consumer alert. And so I would hope that at least a justice or some justices would point out that sort of harassment can contribute to a chill. And that should protect pregnancy centers across the nation, not just in New Jersey.
All right, so potentially significant impact there across the country. Erin, Hawley, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.